If you don't know a person or an investor, you need to be introduced to them. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Well, questions. Are you asking questions, or are you going to?
We're all going to fire some random questions at you as this conversation goes. We really wanted to learn about who you are personally as well. Like, I'm a dad of 4 kids, and I don't know how I could see myself doubling that, But yeah, like that's awesome that you have 8 kids. I was looking you up on LinkedIn, and I want to get into all the angel investings and all the other venture capital things, but yeah, I just want to know a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm gonna have this prepared. You guys, is there like a start? Do I just say, "Here's my children"? There's lots of them.
Theme for all your kids' names. Like, is there a theme? Like, they all start with B, or they all have some sort of?
Nope. Nope. My wife picked most of them. That's about it.
Okay.
So I had some say. My wife got to pick all of them.
Yeah. And your oldest is how old?
My oldest is 13. Are we going? Are we ready to start? We're
rolling.
We're rolling. Yes. So I've got 8 kids. Here they are. And the oldest is 13. We've got twin 3-year-olds. I think you can see them in there. Down here at the bottom.
Twin father to twin father.
Oh yeah, twins. We got boy girl twins, and they're a handful right now, but so much fun. They are like so close to being fully potty trained. It's amazing. We will have no more diapers in like a month.
Dang, that's awesome. I remember my first 2 kids were twins, boy girl twins, and yeah, we did 24 diapers a day, 2 diapers every 2 hours. And I made $10 an hour at the time.
Oh my gosh, I hope you got some like gift cards as for your baby gifts or whatever.
Yeah.
Dang, it is a lot of diapers. But I can't believe it. 13 straight. Well, not 13 straight. Yeah, 13 straight years of diapers. I am so looking forward to not having diapers anymore.
So are these your last 2 kids?
We are done.
Okay.
We are officially done. And stoked about that. It's awesome. The kids are great. We're having so much fun with them. I get to take my son to a little father-son date tonight. And that'll be so cool. I mean, it's just so great to be able to hang out with them and see them grow. My 2 oldest right now are with my wife in Arizona at a tumbling regionals competition. Nice. So they do nationals next month. So awesome. They're off and running. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, both of my girls are in dance, so it's kind of similar. They were doing gymnastics and dance, and they kind of had to pick one because they started getting into competitive. And it's like it's crazy.
You have to pick one.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but like growing up, we could do whatever the heck we wanted.
Totally.
And you could join something in high school and probably make the team. And these guys, if you're not like zoned in by 10 years old, you're
not
never
even making the team, let alone excelling, right?
Yeah. Anyway, that's a weird.
You have a rule at your house, like with all your kids, of like saying, "Hey, you can only do one or the other," or do you?
Absolutely, we have a 2-sport rule because we cannot manage more than 2 sports. So they can do per season can only be 2 sports. So they can do multiple sports throughout the year, but only 2 at a time, or else it'll drive us absolutely insane. So like right now, I've got my daughters doing tumbling, and they want to do soccer, so they're doing soccer. I've got so baseline, everybody does tumbling. That's like the main thing. And I say it tumbling because it's different than gymnastics. Mm-hmm. So the traditional gymnastics, the bars and the beams, they're doing tumbling, which is a 3-sport game anyway. And so like they do soccer so everybody baseline is tumbling. And then my son does football. My other one is doing swimming. Girls are doing soccer, and then cheers. My oldest is doing cheer. My oldest son, who's out at the tumbling competition, he wants to be Cosmo the Cougar at BYU.
Nice.
Okay.
Like his ultimate goal in life is to be Cosmo. And we've talked to some Cosmos that have been in the past, and they've seen his tumbling, and they're like, dude, he's on the right track. Like, he totally could do this. Oh, I'm shaking the computer there. He could totally do this. Just keep him going. So anyway. And then my daughter, if she ends up, because she's a phenomenal tumbler too, if she ends up doing cheerleading long enough, she might be able to cheer at the same time my son is Cosmo the Cougar. How cool would that be?
That's awesome.
We can't. Isn't there like a rule with mascots? They can't like tell anybody.
You're not supposed to tell anybody, but I'm sure his sister would.
Well,
know.
his sister would know.
And the cheerleaders, I think they all know because they're like in the back rooms, locker rooms, and stuff together. But yeah, you can't tell anybody.
Okay, but even with that, like, okay, 8 kids, 2 sports a season, that's 16 sports still. That's a lot. So, like, what's your time-saving organizational hack? Like, how do you manage all that? And everything that you have to do.
I married Jordan Page. Jordan freaking Page. She is the productivity ninja. Hashtag sponsored by productivitybootcamp.com.
Hashtag. Other than like own a DeLorean, how do you guys have time to actually like go and do all this stuff and manage your career, her career? Because, I mean, we just looked it up, over 500,000 followers online. Like, how in the world do you guys do all this and be the type of parents that you want to be?
Well, I'm going to toot my wife's horn. 550,000 on Instagram and almost 1 million on YouTube. You missed that part.
And YouTube, I mean, Facebook, what else do you want to throw out there? I mean,
yeah, she has about 2 million.
Millions of followers. So again, like, you have a career, she has a great career. You guys have 8 kids. You're talking about doing like daddy son dates. Like, how do you do all that? Maybe you have more hours in the day than what I do. I have 24, so I don't know what your days look like.
You don't sleep ever, and then you can fit it in. No, I'm totally kidding. So when we had 6 children, and we knew that my wife was pregnant with twins, we were like, time for a nanny. So we totally went for a nanny, and we have her 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So like, that is an absolutely massive resource. You could call her a mother's helper. She's phenomenal. She helps us with laundry and keeping the house clean and getting the kids lunch. And even if I can't go pick up the kids, which I love picking up the kids from school or from practices, I love that because it's really good bonding time. But in the case I can't, then she's able to do it, right? And so that has been a massive hack, and no shame, right? It's something where when we had 6, we would still have people help us, and it would be different times of the day or different people. No shame in that game. We were blessed to be in a financial position to afford it, because it's obviously not cheap to have people doing that. But that's purely the only way that we could accomplish both of our careers and stay on top of functioning somewhat normally. But so I don't know let's talk about schedules for a minute. I love and believe in exercise. I'm a mountain biker. I trail run. I love skiing or snowboarding specifically for me. Outdoor activities, I love it. So I need to get exercise in, if I can, 5 times a week. That's like the goal. Maybe it's 4 times a week if meetings or conferences or whatever happen, but that's a goal. So you got to get exercise. Usually I try to do that a little bit earlier in the day. Obviously, when I was building the business that I ended up selling, I was not exercising enough. And so that wasn't in my balanced schedule. And I hated that. And it wasn't good. It's not healthy. But anybody who's run a business before, unfortunately, you probably know what that feels like, because you're just all in 10, 12, 14-hour days. That's not sustainable forever. So the thing we tell everybody, and I'm sure I'm quoting somebody else, but it's like, live for 5 years like nobody else will, so that you can live the rest of your life like nobody else can. And that we totally took to heart. My wife and I, as newlyweds, we got married in 2007, and I started my first company in 2009. That's the one that I sold in 2020. Launch Leads is the name of it. Hit Inc. 5000 list 3 times, which is pretty cool. And but during that time, our lives were not balanced, right? And I was able to leave the day-to-day in 2014 because I started a venture-backed software company, and I went through the Techstars Accelerator program in Boulder. And that was a wild experience. So I hired a CEO to run the day-to-day of that services company. And then I tried my hand at a VC-backed software company. And that was even more unhealthy, because I was like all the pressure and added weight of investors and being in more of the public eye at that point. And the business didn't pan out. 2 years, blood, sweat, and tears, and it didn't work out like we thought. And that was miserable. I think when we shut that down, that was probably the first time I truly in my life felt what like depression felt like, anxiety. And so like to dig a little deeper into this note, is that I didn't realize that I had put myself combined with my business reputation, like me as a human, I like combined. And so when that failed, I thought that I personally was like a failure in life as just a human. And that's exactly what Satan wants you to think, right? The adversary wants you to think that you're a failure and that you're not good enough. And it took me at least 6 months to kind of figure out what was going on and why was I feeling these feelings. And I didn't really want to go out. I didn't want to hang out with people. I was like a completely different person. And my wife was like, what's going on? It literally even caused marital strife because I wasn't the same person. And so I had to like wake up from that moment and realize, and it was through different mentors, even my investors who lost money were like, Bubba, we still love you. We'll fund your next business. Like it's not your fault. Like this, you did everything in your power you absolutely could. We watched you. We talked to you every week. Like it's not on you. Like this is just what happens sometimes. And for me, I know that like, I think, God has a plan and he totally put this as part of my plan, because it was interesting because in 2016, 17, when the business, we had to shut it down, I had this like reawakening, spiritual awakening. And it was an amazing experience that I had to go through that brought me closer to God more than I had ever felt. And I believe it was, he knew that I needed something like this drastic. I felt inspired to start the business. Like I felt like that came from God. I ran the business the best I could and it didn't pan out. And so of course you think, hey, you told me to do this thing. Why didn't it work? And now I can look back and realize, oh, that's why. You wanted me to learn all these life lessons and to become a better person and to rely more on him. That's why. And that was a big part of it. And I'm so grateful for that learning experience. Everybody says you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. And absolutely, I think that's true. So what I did is I took a year off. I volunteered to work in the temple. It's kind of a sacred not workhouse, like a sacred worship place for those who haven't heard about it. I volunteered. I spent 2 years there. And then I started exercising again, getting my health back in order, because I hadn't for so many years. And about that time, my wife and I were talking, and I was just, I spent 6 months totally prepping. I felt majorly inspired to start prepping my family. If you guys have heard of preppers, I totally went through this for 6 months. My wife was like, wait a second, what? How are you going to pay for this stuff? This is like food storage and water and, walkie-talkies and stuff, all the stuff that you do in emergencies, flashlights. How are you going to pay for this? I'm like, she's like, I don't want to use our family like savings for this. I'm like, well, it's for the family. Come on. When I sold my beloved motorcycle, she realized I was serious. And she was like, oh, hot dang. Okay. Let's do this. So I spent like 6 months and it was a really cool experience. I'd feel this inspiration, this thought come into my mind of what I needed for my family. And you probably didn't think the podcast was going to go this route, right? But I'm just going to go there. I'm going there and then we'll come back. Yeah. But I get this feeling, this is what we needed for my family. So I'd go execute on that thing and I'd come back and I'd return and report and be like, okay, I did this thing I felt like I was supposed to do. And it would be like, okay, here's the next thing. And I'd be like, oh man, that's awesome. Like I felt like I knew exactly what to do. And this happened over and over and over again for like 6 months. And every week, basically I'd come back. Okay, I did this thing. What else am I supposed to do? And then what else? And then what else? It was probably like the most revelatory experience I'd had in my life since my mission. I had served an LDS mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Brazil, the furthest south you could go. And it was probably one of the most experiences like that I'd had since then. After 6 months, I felt this warm embrace of like a good job, you listened, you obeyed, you did it. Nice work. And then within 24 hours, I felt a huge slap across the face again. And it was like, okay, so the first one was that you're not temporally prepared. That was the feeling. And the next one was you're not spiritually prepared. I'm like, oh man, okay. So what am I supposed to do? And anyway, I'm still on that journey, by the way, but I think that's a never ending, that's a lifelong journey of being spiritually prepared. So anyway, that's a big part of my life though. And I bring it up because like every day I'm studying scriptures. I go to the temple almost every week of the year. I don't work there anymore as a volunteer. I just go to worship. And that's a huge part of who I am. And I love it. I love reading books and studying gospel stuff and Jesus. I love it. It's my friend. And I just want to be closer to him. And I try to teach my kids the best I can. But to me, that's like numero uno. Like if there's an order of importance, like that's my relationship with God. That's number one. Then I've got my wife and my kids and then my health and then those around me that I can help. And then business comes after all that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. And do you see, like with you being in touch with your spiritual side, do you see a lot of those habits and things that you do there translate into business as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there's life principles and you learn a lot from the Bible. You learn a lot from what Jesus taught. So it's like, if you can implement those principles into a business setting, you're probably going to have success, right? Treat others like you want to be treated. Love other people, serve other people. Like if you're creating a company and you create value in some way, shape, or form, then people will want that product or service from you because you're creating value. And if you can serve them with that value, then you'll receive benefits from it. And so there's absolutely, I think, gospel-centered principles, being honest, having high integrity. Like in business, if you're not doing that, you're going to blow it, right? That lifeline is only going to last so long if you keep burning bridges and are not honest with people. Or if you're living a duplicitous life, whatever, living two-sided life, right? Mm-hmm. That's not going to serve you well. That might last for a year. Maybe somebody can get away with it for 2 years or more, but like, it's always going to come back. And people call it karma. You can call it whatever you want, but like, there is absolute truth in what the gospel teaches. And we've got it all right there in the scriptures. We just have to study it, understand it, believe it. And even just to have, most entrepreneurs, even if they're atheists, they have faith because they started something from scratch and believed that they could actually do something. That's called faith, right? Even though they couldn't see it, they created it. And so I think, I mean, literally there's a million examples we could go from gospel into business over and over and over again. And so yes, I think it has a massive impact on our lives. And I also think like, why, yes, we could work 7 days a week, but you should probably take at least 1 day off. And I prefer to take 2 days off, but like, or more. But you got to take a day off, and Sunday's a great day to do that. So might as well keep the Sabbath day holy. You might as well do it because it's healthy for you. Fasting is another one. I didn't really love fasting until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I started fasting more frequently, and I didn't do it from a health standpoint. Although it has incredible health benefits now. Everybody's talking about fasting and intermittent fasting. But if you do it from a spiritual standpoint, you also receive spiritual benefit. So there's like, even from that element, paying tithing, you're donating, you're giving back, you're helping other people who have less. Like there's fast offerings, like there's so many things in the gospel that you should be doing in life anyway. Anyway, I could go on. I'm on my soapbox, guys.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll add just a little bit to that though. It's interesting as we study the scriptures in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there's something called scripture mastery where there's certain scriptures that you go and look through. I actually have my own list of what I call business mastery. So as I'm studying the scriptures and I'm like, absolutely, that's what I should be doing business-wise. This other thing, yep, this is a business mastery. So mine are all marked up business.
Oh, that's awesome.
Business mastery.
I love that. Yeah, anyway, I just think it's a great principle to follow. And whatever you believe in, if it's the universe, a higher power, God, Jesus, whatever it is, like stay focused on it. There's so many good things in every single religion for the most part. Like, you have to, it's hard to look at your life and think that there isn't something else out there, that there isn't some other thing going on in this universe, in this great world. And I think it's pretty healthy for everybody to have a belief in something. And so more power to you. I'm a big supporter. Anyway, okay, so let's see here. My life. Oh yeah, I talked about the failure, talked about one that was a winner. So after this like prepping time frame, and then the spiritual, like, hey, I gotta wake up here and really get my thing going. I gotta be the leader in the home and make this thing happen. That's when my wife and I were talking, and it made sense for me to come in and help her. She had been doing the social media thing under funcheaperfree.com, this blog. And she had so many goals and aspirations of what she thought she could help people with. And she just had a passion for helping specifically moms and families. So I just came and it was essentially like, hey, if you want me to come, I would love to help you grow. So it was her and an assistant, and she had already done phenomenally well in her blogging world. And she was about to come out with her very first product called budgetbootcamp.com. And so it's this online course. So I just basically came in and I just tried to act as the back end business person. So helping with hiring and training and systems and technologies and think about business and profitability. And she is all things face of the company and social and content and products and connecting with the audience, all that stuff. And we did that for 3.5 years together. And there's amazing benefits with working with your spouse, but it's also not always awesome. So just to put it out there, it was tough. It was really hard. There were some elements that made it difficult. And we realized after 3.5 years, it was a great run. We went from her and an assistant to like 15 employees, a few million in revenue, very profitable, millions of followers, and I don't know, 100 SKUs of products that she had in warehouses, shipping all across the world, paper products, baby brand called Maury June. She has the planners now, budget planner, productivity planner. She has kid and teen planners. She's got a cookbook now, shelfcooking.com. It's a whole new thing. It's taking the world by storm. She's been on Rachel Ray and Good Morning America, Dr. Phil, you name it, she's done it. And I'm just so grateful I was able to support and be there with her along that ride. And it was only last year where it was like, okay, I think it's time for me to do my own thing again. And so I was looking at kind of my skills and my network and my talents and trying to make a Venn diagram of like, where do they meet in the middle? And I landed on Influence Ventures and influenceventures.co because the .com wasn't available, but .co is still cool. I do own influencevc.com. So maybe I'll convert to influencevc.com.
It's always hard to find a .com that fits.
Influence VC is shorter, but I'm technically, so it's in the venture capital world, but instead of starting a fund, I am more of what's called a syndicate. And so we invest in companies that specifically can see rapid growth through social media influencers, since that's now part of my history and world, right? And so, for example, my wife and I, we wrote a check to Gab Wireless. This is a simple, easy story. In their seed round, and so we wrote a little check, and then we were able to promote their products because we really believe in safe tech for kids. And so obviously 8 kids, we want them to be safe online. It was a no-brainer for me. And so we wrote the check, but then I negotiated. I said, look, I think we can promote this thing and do really well with it to our audience. What do you say about taking the commissions you want to pay us, convert them into equity so that I can get an even bigger chunk of the seed round? And they said, sure, what the heck? It's pay for performance. We don't have to pay you if you don't do anything. And I'm like, sweet. They capped us at 50K though. And within what was like 4 to 6 months or something, we hit that 50K in commission because we love the product. We believe in the mission, and our audience families loved it. So we were able to get that extra cash into the investment. And now I think they're a private company, so I can't share all their details, but it's done very well. And our investment could even be more than 20x what we originally got. And they're not even done yet. They're not even sold or going public yet. So it could be, who knows? So I looked at that and saying, I think I could duplicate that with Influence Ventures. And I've invested in a bunch of other companies since. I love being an angel investor. I think I'm at like 12 individual deals that I've written. And then I think I'm involved in three funds that I've invested in. I love investing so much. It's just so fun. I don't have to do the day-to-day work that the entrepreneur is doing anymore. I've already lived through that life, so I can give advice and help see landmines and help them avoid some of those things. But I get to invest in these amazing people and these amazing companies, and then they get to do the hard work of growing them. Some of them work, some of them don't. One of the companies I invested in just closed their doors. And oh, it was so painful. And I love the entrepreneur. We've become very close, and I'll still fund another business that he does, because again, it wasn't his fault. It's not his. He worked every angle and every possible way he could, and it just didn't pan out. And that's part of being an investor. You got to know that sometimes that goes. So that was $50K gone, right?
Yeah.
But I have all these other investments, and some will fail and some will do great, and it'll all end up working out in the end. Well, that's the cross. Luckily, so far, they're all working out. We'll see. Time will tell. So when Influence Ventures began, it was just something where I had this passion for investing. I love entrepreneurs. I feel like I can relate to them as an entrepreneur myself. And then if I can bring my social media experience and my connections within that world of influencers, I think we can help a lot of companies. And especially if we could get some of these influencers to write a small check, they'll be a long-term, lifelong partner with that company. And so there's a lot of education that needs to take place, and I haven't done that yet, of educating the influencers of what does investing mean, what is a cap table, what does shares or LLC units mean, and what can that do for them as an investment. There's a lot that the influencer world, I don't think, has had a ton of experience in, that I think I can bring to the table. And then it's a unique aspect that all of the VCs here, at least from California and Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, some of my contacts, mainly in the VC space, they're not focusing on this area, not yet, at least. And so I think I've got a unique value proposition that I can help a lot of people. And that's what I've been noticing, is I've just been barely getting the word out. VCs are contacting me saying, hey, will you help me review this deal? It's in your space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm getting deal flow from other VCs. I'm not I'm not going to be the lead investor. I'm going to follow along a VC who's going to write the biggest check. And then I'll bring $500,000 to $1 million to the table through my syndicate of investors, through my friends, people I know who invest alongside me. They believe and trust that I'm going to do what I can for due diligence. I'm going to find the right deals, and I'm only going to do deals that I'm personally writing a check into. So they know that I've got skin in the game in every deal I do. And that's where I'm headed. There are a few, I think I've noticed 3 other firms across the entire country, VC firms, that are having a social media angle. And I'm sure there will be a lot more that will come up. Yeah. But anyway, I'm proud to kind of be in the first 10 in the country to lead in this side. I think marketing has changed. iOS 14, anybody in the e-com space, like trying to do pay-per-click ads, it's absolutely destroyed a lot of people having the privacy shut off and all the things. And so people have turned a lot of their time and attention to social media influencers to help drive demand and drive product awareness and conversions through revenue. And I think that is part of our future. SEO is still a game, but I think that's a different angle. PPC is really tough. Some people can still pull it off, but it's the ROAS, the return on ad spend, is a lot lower than it used to be. Social media influencers are not inexpensive per se, especially if you're going the sponsorship route. But if you can go the affiliate route, or if you can convert commissions into equity and do that game like we talked about, I think there's massive opportunity in the future of online companies to gain a huge benefit from social media influencers. Anyway, I'm throwing my ring in the hat. I'm sticking to it. That's what I'm up to, guys.
That's really awesome. And because the point where you're at, where you get to like, help people by investing in companies and stuff like that, like that's a dream that I've always had, but I've always made like minimum wage, or I've always made, you know what I mean? Like what do you think? I mean, I know you built a business, and I think after you built that business and sold it, you then had your capital, and I think that's where you could probably start investing with other people. And so my question is like, what advice would you give to have someone get to that point where we can start investing and doing some of the investing that you're doing?
Yeah. So you obviously you start small. So my very first check that I ever wrote was $25,000 into a venture capital fund called Peterson Ventures. And usually you can't ever invest in a VC fund with 25K, period. There's like minimums of like 250K.
Yeah.
Or $1 million, $500,000, million, whatever it is, right? I was a CEO that they had funded. That was the only reason I could get in. Well, I wrote that check, and it was like everything my wife and I could scrounge up, right? 25K was a huge amount for us at that time. And, but I did it. And obviously it was a risk, and I could have lost everything. That's how investing works. But they ended up backing Cotopaxi, HireVue that sold, Bonobos that went public, Allbirds that went public, Chatbooks, which still will have a sale in the future. And Cotopaxi hasn't even gone public yet, right? Like there's still, and I've already gotten 3x, almost 4x my money back from my very first investment. Now it's taken a long time. This is back in 2015, 16. So this is like a long time frame. And COVID didn't help, it extended that time frame a little bit. And even the public markets right now have extended that time frame. People would have gone public if the markets weren't what they are today. But like that, I'm probably going to get a 4 or 5x return on that investment. Now that's only 125K back, but that was a massive opportunity that I got into. So I got lucky. I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes that can happen, but I think investing is one of those principles that you should start investing as soon as you possibly can, even dollar cost averaging into the market. I'm not a huge stock player. Like I don't love the stock market, but there is a thing called dollar cost averaging where you essentially every day or every week or every month, you just put a little bit in at a time. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $500, maybe it's $1,000. It's something that you and your family, you live on lower so that you can invest in your future, and you have compound interest that it's proven over the last 100 years, you're going to end up better off in the next 30 years if you start investing. And the sooner you start investing, the better you're off, because that compounding is like a J-curve growth scale. So like you start investing now, if you're in your 20s, or even if you're younger, like you start as soon as you possibly can. I unfortunately, I'm actually my very, very first investment, we were totally newlyweds. There was an oil company that was through a family friend. And so I lied about my 25K check. My 5K check was our very first investment into this oil company as newlyweds. And this was like for real. We had no money at all. I mean, we did ramen probably for, a long time just to be able to write that check. And the company blew up and nothing happened. I lost all of it. Nada. Nothing.
I bet that hurt way worse than the 50K.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. It hurt so much more than the 50K I just lost. So much more. This 50K, it's like, dang. Yeah. That's all right. We'll get the next one. 5K gone. Oh, devastating to my wife and I. So when I brought her, this is hilarious actually, 2019, I bring her another oil deal. She's like, what are you talking about? We hate oil. We are not doing oil. Never again. And I was like, look, okay, I know the last one was a bust, but this one, I know the people, they've had success. We should just at least try it. And so that investment, we put in 100K. And which again, still, that's a lot of money for anybody. That was a lot for us too in 2019. Well, then they come out with, and that was their fund. I'm going into way too much detail, guys. So then but we start getting dividend checks from this oil company. And it's like 1 to 3% a month. We're not talking like 12% a year, which is most real estate, like cash flow dividend producing is like 12 to 15%, or even 9 or 10%. People are stoked about that. I was getting 1% a month, even 3% a month. Like this was a legit return. And so I'm going to my wife, I'm like, yeah, this thing is awesome. So when fund 2 comes around, I wrote a much bigger check. then fund 3, an even bigger check. And now fund 4 is in the process. I'll keep writing checks. And it is absolutely unbelievable cash flow. Not all oil investments will do this. Oh man, I'm sorry. Not all investments are going to have success. Like I've told you, I've lost money. And you only invest money that you can lose. But I think if you start small, start something simple, just dollar cost average into something, whether you're doing that into, the stock market, which is probably a okay place to begin. And then if you're into crypto, you do crypto. I got in 2018 into crypto, and I just held it. I haven't done the good dollar cost average. I just threw 30K in and just held it. And that's turned out to be really okay for me, because Bitcoin was what, $6,000 at the time, and now it's at 29. So that's not bad. And then a bunch of other coins. But so anyway, I just think investing is a big deal. But really, what is the book that you all need to read by Robert Kiyosaki? The Cash Flow Quadrant.
Oh yeah,
it's super old. Like, I'm sure it's way outdated. But he teaches you these. I'm going to totally mess it up. But he teaches these 4 places where you can live. You can live as an employee. You can live as an employee. You can live as a professional, I think, is what he talks about, like doctor, dentist, lawyer, right? So employee, you can make good money as an employee. I have buddies that make a few $100,000 a year as an employee. There's nothing wrong with that. As a doctor, dentist, lawyer, you can make great money as a professional. And there's nothing wrong with that. But he says the 2 greatest areas where you make wealth is as a business owner and as an investor. Those are the 4 areas. I think I'm saying them right. And you can probably tell why, right? But I've had a friend of mine who's been an employee the majority of his career, and he and I would go to lunch every month, and he would see me as an entrepreneur and be like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I'd see him, he's making fat cash. I think it was like up to like $400K a year he was making as a sales exec, like crushing it as a salesperson. And I'm like, dude, I wish I was in your shoes. You're making bank and I'm struggling to make this business survive. And we like have this amazing respect for each other's careers. Well, by the time I sell my business, he's now made enough and has started investing along the way. And by the time I sell them, they're like, we're at similar phases of life. And now so he's been investing a lot longer than I had. And I had to wait to really start investing a little bit, but I sold my company. Now, not all companies get sold. And so if that business would have failed, he would have been way further ahead as an employee. But he started investing, and that's really where things have blossomed. And now guess what? He's now an entrepreneur, and now I'm the one that's the investor. It's kind of funny. He's not doing business, and I wrote a check to him as an investor in his company because I believe and love him. And you typically invest in people you know, love, and trust, right? Like that's the secret. Any of you watching that want to invest to raise money for your business, you have to build relationships. Yeah. So you have to have relationships. People don't want to invest in a stranger. They want to invest in somebody they know, love, and trust. If you don't know a person or an investor, you need to be introduced to them. Cold calling, yes, you can, but you're going to have a much higher success rate, if you get introduced to somebody. So like if you want me to write you a check as Influence Ventures, please be introduced by someone. Because I get, 100 messages a month on LinkedIn from just random people on LinkedIn. I have like 20,000 followers on LinkedIn now. And they just ping me all day long. Hey, we're raising money. I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, that's awesome. Good hustle. But find somebody that you know that knows me, and your stuff goes straight to the top of the deck.
Cool. That's really good advice. Thank you.
It's just bombarding me all day long of people who want money. And that pile I'll never get to the bottom of the pile. So if there's any way you can get to the top of the pile, go through somebody you know. And if you don't know somebody that I know, go find somebody and create a relationship first, or go to an event that I'm speaking at, and come and shake my hand afterwards. Like even that is better, because then I at least know you. And then add everyone to LinkedIn. I expect all you guys on this podcast to add me on LinkedIn if we're not connected already, because it's like, even if we haven't talked in years, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I know you. I'm like, we're connected. I know you somehow, some way. And most of the time I'll remember you because I remember the face. Your names come up in the feed sometimes or whatever. LinkedIn does a beautiful job from a business setting to keep relationships. And any students who are watching, connect with your classmates, connect with your professors. Like when I go speak at the universities, I try to tell people, like, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you better get one right now and start. Even if it says nothing, even if it says student, doesn't matter, do it, and add every adult person you meet on LinkedIn. And no shame. Have no shame about it. Just add everybody that you know. Don't just add random strangers all the time. Just add people you meet.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Thanks.
Sorry, were you saying something?
I just said thanks. That's really awesome, and our sales minds are starting to race right now. Yeah, and so we're going to be putting a game plan together. So yes, thank you for sharing. This is why we love these podcasts, man.
No, and as salespeople, you have a huge advantage because you're talking to hundreds and hundreds of people all the time. Connect with every one of them on LinkedIn. Think about this. In 5 years' time, you'll have thousands of people you're connected to. And guess what? If you go start a business, you can now reach out to them to invest. If you're hiring people, you now have people you can hire from. If you're going to start a company, you want to partner, you probably have people you can partner with. Like, it's mind-blowing the resources that you will have at your fingertips if you just take this daily practice of connecting with people, being honest and truthful, and good relationship skills. And those will last you a lifetime. I mean, geez, we've known each other since 2008.
Yeah.
Humco?
Right.
We're talking 2008. It's 2023. Holy, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
We've connected and we've stayed in contact, and we don't see each other every month. We don't even see each other every 6 months, but like, we're still connected.
Yeah.
And it's, anyway, so I'm a huge fan. Again, another soapbox guy. You guys caught me. I must have taken a caffeine something before this.
No, that's okay. And we just got a few more minutes left. I just want you. Has Abner or has anyone told you what we're doing with Varden? Like,
yes, we got to talk a little bit. It sounds awesome. You're taking a cool angle into the golf world, and more of a lifestyle play to the golfing game.
Yeah, and
because I am no pro. I am definitely not a pro golfer, but I love to play. And I can go do a business scramble with the best of them.
Yeah.
Will I ever do a competition where I'm supposed to actually win? No. But if I can go for a charity, or if I can go to connect with people and friends, and heck yeah.
So and I don't want to sound cliche. This is going to sound really cliche, but as you were talking and telling us your story about how you like to mountain bike, how it's important to exercise and stuff, and how you use the Venn diagram, how you talked about the Venn diagram. That's our conversations that we're having already as a business, because we want to bring mountain bikers and people that like to mountain bike into the business world, but they can show that professionally through our golf brand. And so that's where Abner gets all his inspiration, is because he's a mountain biker. I'm a wakeboarder. You know, we all have these fun things. We're not the best golfers, except for Greenwell. He's really good. I'll back for him. But we can showcase our lifestyle in the business world through this golf brand with Varden. So
I love that. That's so cool. Well, I mean, I think there's obviously times in your life where you're not as balanced as you would like to be, and that's okay too, right? Think about it like spinning plates. My wife does a good job when she teaches in productivity boot camp. Like, you have these plates and you've got a lot of them and you're spinning them up, trying to, but one plate is probably going to slow down and the other one's going to be fast. So like sometimes your life does, go back and forth a little bit, and that's okay. Living like nobody will for 5 years so you can live like nobody else will, or nobody else can, I'm sorry, for the rest of your life. Like, that does take a level of sacrifice that, earlier in your career, yeah, you might not be able to go on the vacations you really hoped for. Or you might not be able to buy the car you were really hoping to drive, or maybe you can't go out to lunch every day. You need to brown bag it, right? And that's what's so beautiful, and what I think what gives you so much gratitude in life is as you can kind of make those steps along the way, learn so much, and then being able to live a lifestyle. To me, you never want to compromise your relationship with God. You never want to compromise your relationship with your spouse. I think health is right there too. And it has to be, because if you don't have the health, you got nothing else. Right. So it's something that if you can try to keep those core elements in your life even from day one. And again, it's something that I think your brand brings to play, where it's like, if you can live the lifestyle you want to live, hopefully you're able to make the choices in life that allow you to do that. And obviously the further along in your career, the more you can do. And but I'm not the kind of person that wants to wait until I'm retired to go have fun. Like that's I don't think that's any of our generations. I believe that our grandparents lived that way, and even our parents maybe to an extent. But I don't think that's us. I think our generation understands the value of getting out and mountain biking and wakeboarding and golfing and having those things that are fun. But you might not buy the $40,000 side-by-side. You might go and buy a used dirt bike for a couple grand. And that's okay. You can still have that lifestyle, but live within your means and make it a positive experience. You might have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go golfing so that you can still get to work on time and still bust your butt at work. But like you have to make those sacrifices in order to prove the lifestyle in. You may also stop drinking or partying on the weekend so that you have more time with your family, or that you can find the wife that you want to marry, right? So it's like, I think those all come into the lifestyle play. That's the playbook.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sweet. Well, I got one question for you as a social standpoint. How did your wife, and maybe this is a question for her, but how did you guys start? Like, we're trying to grow our social, but I mean, what's your advice on that one?
So my wife started with the blog. That was kind of pre-Instagram. There was Facebook, but the blog, she just started writing what she was passionate about. And there's an audience for everything out there, especially now that we have social and internet. Like, people will find everything. And so you find a niche and you just really focus on that core first. And you learn about them and you write about them and you post about it and you study it and you live it and you become that person, your persona. She just knew and understood her people so dang well. She was one of them. She started writing Fun, Cheaper, Free about our frugal living. When I started my first company, had no income. For an entire year, we lived off of my wife's salary. By the time she had our first kid, she came home. And I was supposed to support our family. I could barely take a paycheck like once every 3 months. You know what I mean? It was insane. But so she started blogging about her frugal lifestyle. Well, people could relate to that. So they started following along, and then they started getting more interested. So being relatable, authentic, not hiding behind, like, I appreciate you guys were willing to say, yeah, that's not actually a tree. It's a vinyl, but it looks sweet. Like, that was being authentic, right? That's amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's endearing. People want to know that you're authentic. I think the people who have social followers because they're posting about their Lambos and their hot chicks and they're drinking and they're partying and whatever it is, like, to me, that's just not how to do it. Like, you can like nice cars. There's nothing wrong with nice cars. Please forgive me. I have a nice car and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, is that more important to me than a relationship with someone? Or is that more important than my family or my kids or my relationship with God? Absolutely not. Am I going to tell you that I had to struggle and suffer to get here? Totally. Because that's what's really authentic. So like, I think not trying to be perfect online is really, really valuable. Just be who you are. If you guys, even in a business setting, now obviously people prefer to follow people and they don't love to follow businesses as much. That's why most social influencers are individual people. And if it's a brand, it's typically because they were already big, Most of the time there are brands that have grown on social, don't get me wrong, but they've probably done a ton of collaborations with people that others love, like, and want to do business with. They've probably given their product to bajillions of people, to influencers, to have promote their product that's helped them. As a brand, how can you connect to your audience in a way that they want to follow you and not just for a free t-shirt? I think the giveaway thing, you can do a giveaway, but do it like every 3 months, not every week. Mm-hmm. Because if you get giveaway followers, they're not loyal to you. They don't care about you. They just wanted that free thing. I mean, you guys have all seen this. Win a free iPad, tag this, do that, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll get you followers, but they suck. Right? Like those followers mean nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's your engagement with those people that you're working with. And so if you can create a personality behind your brand that can engage with people, that's how you're going to grow it, right? And I know that's a hard thing to do for a brand specifically, but let's say you have ambassadors. You guys have brand ambassadors. You have the pro golfer, or you have the pro wakeboarder, or you have the mountain biker, or whatever. Have them be a part of the social as often as possible, because it brings personality, and that's what people want to watch. There are also in my opinion, there are two different types of influencers or social people on social media. Influencers specifically. You have the educator and you have the entertainer. These are two different people. Both of them have massive values for brands, and both can perform very well with brands. But like my wife, you'll probably never see her doing a TikTok dance, because that's just not her vibe, right? Now, I'm not saying that is wrong inherently. I don't love it when they're scantily clad and trying to get, and men and women alike, trying to get attention in that way. I'm not a huge fan of that for social media. But there are people who like Johnson Files are hilarious online. Full M House, we love them. They're just hilarious. They're so funny and clean, and their humor is just amazing. You just laugh. So you want to follow them because they just make you laugh. They're so funny. Then you have the educator, and my wife is an educator, right? So she gets online. She teaches about budgeting. She teaches about cooking. She teaches about productivity, how to be a better mom, and how to raise a bunch of kids, and how to be okay with not being perfect, right? She's the first to always post with no makeup on, and early in the morning her hair's like this, because that's relatable. She's not going to be the one that posts like a celebrity that only has perfect pinup pictures. That's our way of building a social following. People have done it every other way, and they would probably be on a podcast teaching you to do it, be perfect, and have everything be, dialed in. That's just not how we've done it. Our vibe is a little more natural, more authentic, and we feel like we have a very authentic audience. Let me just share this quick.
Yeah.
I was filming my daughter for her birthday. I typically post because it's my journal. So I'm doing my kids, I'm doing me exercising, showing growth. I'm showing me doing a fun adventure. I'm with my family, a celebration. So I'm using it more from like a journaling standpoint. It's probably not the best way to grow a following, but that's just me, right? It's perfect for me to go back and relive those memories and share with my family and friends, whatnot. So I'm filming my daughter. She's 7 years old yesterday. We're having this blast of a birthday breakfast, but my little 2-year-old comes out and she had just used the bathroom and did not have her pants on. So it totally inappropriate. Absolutely not what I want to have online. I didn't notice. I literally filmed my daughter cheering, yeah, it's your birthday. I had no idea in the background is my little nudie daughter. And she's 3, right? I totally didn't realize it. And I'm in the groove. My wife's out of town, so I've got the other 6 kids. I'm doing breakfast. I'm doing birthdays. I'm just like making it happen. And so I post it without even thinking twice. My followers are so awesome. I get like 20 people DM me. Oh my gosh, you probably didn't realize, but your daughter's naked in the background. You want to delete that? You want to remove it? Yeah, just heads up. We love you guys. Just, like so kind and nice. They know that I wasn't trying to do something, and they were just being super authentic with me. So obviously I immediately take it down, try to get it off the internet because all the crazy pedos out there. Yeah. So get it off the internet. And I was just so grateful. I had this audience of people who care enough about me to, instead of promoting it or tearing me apart for not being sensitive enough for clothing my children or taking me down some whatever path, they just were loving and kind. And I feel like you get that type of audience when you are authentic and kind and loving to other people too. I also post a lot about God and Jesus. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons maybe my growth has stagnated a little bit, because my wife and I have tested this. You post and tag Jesus or talk about Jesus, it doesn't go very far, typically. And I want in the Ethernet here, like, I don't know what it is, but like when I talk about God and Jesus, I typically don't have a great week from an engagement side, meaning the algorithm does not love me that week. So I'm not saying don't talk about Jesus, because we all know we need more Jesus in this world, right? But it's been very interesting to watch, and I probably talk about it 2 or 3 times a week. So it'll be, and I'm not going to back down from that. I'm going to keep posting, because I think honestly God gave us this platform. That's the only reason my wife and I have this, is to help other people, and there is no other reason. So I need to do my part. That's at least my belief right at the time. You guys, my kids are going to be coming home from school any second.
Yes. Any last questions for?
That's all.
No, I just great advice, because like you talked about, I think it's inspiring when you talk. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that I think talk about, you mentioned that you went through some failures and you learned a lot, and you got on the other side of it, and you're a very optimistic person and have a rock star spouse that supports you, and you're able to be on that side of things. But I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs or employees or whatever that sometimes you're still going through that dark time that you're talking about, the depression, and they probably know it's short-lived, but it's hard to see that when you're stuck in that moment. And so I think it's great to see success stories like you and talk about, being authentic, that, we had to go through some struggle. That I think it's great to have that out there so that people understand, like, there is an end, there's a light to the end of the tunnel. And like you said, now you've invested in somebody who just lost it all, and it wasn't their fault, and you'll invest in their business again. And hopefully that person can get to your same seat and do the same thing for somebody else. So it's nice to have that out in the world.
Well, I can share a couple things of advice before we close here. Like, for those who are struggling, for those who are going through the grind right now, I feel you. First of all, you are not alone. People are right around you, and they're going through the struggles. Usually when you look online, you don't see that, right? People are posting highlights. I get it. That's normal. So just realize they're posting their highlights online. So you trying to judge yourself against everybody else that's around you, it's unrealistic. Not everybody's willing to come out there bawling online, telling them about their struggles, right? We all are going through struggles, whether it's with marriage or with kids or with work or with a business or investments or finances, whatever it is. Every human has to go through these things. That's part of the plan. And our job is to learn from them. So the tips I'd say is, number one, turn to God, turn to your higher power. When you're going through the absolute depths of despair, that is your saving grace. Like, that is where you turn. Learn to communicate with him, right? Learn that process of hearing when you receive answers. And you can know it's from God because, number one, it's going to be good. And it's not going to be tearing you apart. There is a godly reprimand of, hey, you can be better. Like I felt, hey, you're not spiritually prepared. I felt it, but it wasn't tearing me down, right? And it wasn't something evil or negative, like go hurt someone or be dishonest. None of those things are going to be coming from God. So when you start but if you start hearing in your own mind things like you're not good enough, or you'll never make it, or you can't do this, that's not from God. So think about who that's coming from. You got to listen, and you have to take time to meditate and ponder, clear your mind, and allow. We've got somebody who's trying to communicate with us 24/7, and yet we are living such busy lives that we rarely, if ever, listen. So if I can plead with everybody who's listening, especially those who have struggled or are struggling, turn to your higher power, communicate, express the depths of despair you're going through, ask for that help, and then be willing to do what you hear. And it may be painful. It may mean you have to shut down that business. And you're like, but wait a second, I'm supposed to be calling for miracles here. You need to listen to what you're supposed to do and then act on it, no matter how difficult it is. If you hear in your mind that you have to go apologize to your father for being a prick when you were little, sorry for for being a bad guy, then go do it. Call him, apologize, take those steps, because God works in mysterious ways. It's not always going to be about what business you do or about your money. He's going to dive in the deep depths of your soul, and he's going to say, go make amends with that person you offended. And it's going to hurt, and it's going to be painful for you to do that. But I can guarantee and promise you that when you listen and act on these things that come into your mind that are good, you will have more blessings than you could ever imagine. And I'm not just talking temporal and financial blessings. I'm talking lifelong gifts that come from heaven that you will never be able to deny. As long as you listen to what's being told, are humble enough to actually act on those feelings and go do it. I just can promise you. So those, turn to God, find mentors, find people who love you for you and have no ulterior motive. An investor, unfortunately, has an ulterior motive. No matter how good of a friend they are, if they have financial connection to you in some way, they should not be your true mentor. They can be an advisor, but they can't be a personal life mentor. You need to find somebody who you respect, who you would love to emulate, and build relationships with them and call on them, because they should be looking out for your absolute best interest. And even if that means you have to, shut down a business or change jobs or whatever that thing is, they should shoot straight with you because there's no ulterior motives. So those are probably my two best tips. And then honestly, work freaking hard at doing the best you can in all the areas of your life. Just work the best you can. And it means to sacrifice probably some of your worldly pleasures that you like. So work dang hard. All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Peace.
Bubba, thanks so much.
Thank you.